Hello everyone. Today we learn about what is the difference between an LMN and a UMN facial paralysis. In the face, you have a lot of muscles of facial expression. We will learn about the most important ones to differentiate LMN and UMN paralysis of the face. This is the frontalis muscle. When this muscle contracts, it will cause transverse wrinkles on the forehead. You can have a look at the symmetrical transverse wrinkles in the forehead of this Mr. Bean character. Over here you have the muscle orbicularis oculi, and this muscle will cause blinking as well as closing the eyelids forcefully shut like this. Over here you are seeing a series of muscles which will contract when cause movement of the angle of the mouth like this. And over here you have one more muscle which is a little more at a deeper plane, and this muscle is known as buccinator. The word buccinator means trumpeter because as you see here he is having the puffy appearance of the cheek because of the contraction of these muscles. This is also important because this is the one which will allow the food to remain between the teeth during chewing. If you have a weak buccinator, then the food can lodge in that vestibule, that is a space between the teeth and the cheek. And this muscle is the platysma, and it will cause these ridges, and it is important in conveying the expression of fear. Alright, with this understanding, let us have a look at what is the innervation of these muscles. All these muscles are innervated by this nerve that is called the facial nerve or the cranial nerve number 7. And as illustrated in this image, the black labeled part, that is supplying the upper part of the face. If you correlate with the previous image, it is actually supplying the frontalis and the orbicularis oculi upper part. The rest of the muscles in the face is all supplied by the green part, which is the lower part of the facial nerve. Now, where is this facial nerve arising from? We all know that facial nerve is arising from the brainstem, and that is specifically from the pons. So in the pons, we are now seeing two motor facial nerve nuclei, and we can see these two axons, the black axon and the green axon, which together forms the facial nerve. And you can see they are the ones that are supplying the upper part of the face and the lower part of the face in this diagram. Okay, with this understanding, let us now learn what is an LMN facial paralysis. In LMN facial paralysis, you will have a lesion of this neuron from the pons onto the muscles. Okay, it can be a pontine lesion, can be a pontine infarct, it can be a facial nerve involvement. It can occur in the petrous part of the temporal bone or in the facial canal throughout the course by which the facial nerve runs in the skull. And it can also be caused by an iatrogenic injury, for example, a parotid surgery, which accidentally incised the facial nerve. All of these can cause an LMN facial paralysis, and it will cause involvement of one half of the face. So this is a patient who had an LMN facial paralysis, and let us have a look at what are the features that determine that it is LMN facial paralysis. In the upper part, you are seeing absent transverse wrinkles on one half, while there is transverse wrinkles that are present over here. Now over here you can see a widened palpebral fissure, and there is inability to close the eye. If you ask the person to shut the eye and bury the eyelashes, the person will have weakness over here. And there can also be slight drooping of the lower eyelid, as you can see over here. It can cause epiphora, that means the tears can overflow from this side. There is also an absent or a weakened nasolabial fold. The angle of the mouth can be drooped downwards, and there can also be drooling because the saliva can lodge due to the weakened buccinator between the vestibule and the teeth, and that can drool from the angle of the mouth. Now, what is this UMN facial paralysis, or central facial paralysis? Now, let us have a look at which are the upper motor neurons. They are arising from the cerebral cortex, and as you know, this is the left side of the face, and this is the left side of the pons, and that will be innervated by the right side of the cerebrum. You can see the homunculus over here, and in that you can see the upper part of the face is represented here. So let us see how that nerve will arise from there, and it will innervate the black neuron that is representing the upper part of the face. Similarly, you also have the lower part of the face that is in a way innervating the lower part of the face. What is unique about this is that the upper part of the face is also represented on the ipsilateral cerebral cortex. You can see that upper motor neuron also innervates the lower motor neuron, that is the black neuron over here. So you can see that this part of the facial nerve nucleus is getting two sides UMN supply from the ipsilateral as well as from the contralateral side, but the lower part of the face is represented only on the contralateral side. This is known as the bilateral representation of the upper part of the face in the cerebral cortex. Let us now learn what will happen if you have a UMN facial paralysis. If you have a cortical lesion in the right cerebral cortex, in the right internal capsule, or in the right midbrain, then you will have involvement of the lower part of the face, because the lower part of the face, LMN neuron, is denervated, but the upper part of the face is spared, and that is because it is still getting projection from the ipsilateral cerebral cortex. Due to this reason, you will only have involvement of the lower part of the face, and there will be sparing of the upper part of the face. You can remember this law by understanding that if you see sparing of the upper part of the face, it is a UMN facial paralysis. Now, to summarize, if you have a left-sided lower part of the face involvement, then that means it's a UMN facial paralysis and the lesion is located in the right or in the contralateral side. It can be in the cerebral cortex, internal capsule, or in the midbrain. If you have a lesion in the left hemiface, then you are having an ipsilateral, that means the same side, pons or facial nerve involvement. Thank you.